Hi there guys, Mobro here. I just wanted to share a little program with you that I've made. It's a VB program that takes in an input file and converts the input file into a picture on the screen. Okay, so the picture that I'm going to be drawing here today is actually the map of the Earth. And so the input file, what it contains is a bunch of locations on Earth. So in the form of countries and then cities within countries and then even towns within cities. As much data as I could gather is in this program. And so every location that I have has the latitude and longitude associated with it. So what my program is basically doing is taking in the latitudes and longitudes and converting it into a pixel on the screen as in the form of a particular dot. And so the entire when you take in all the inputs from the file, you can see a visual representation of the data on the screen. Okay, so that's the general idea that I'm going towards here. Okay, so I'm just going to run this initially without the input file, just to show you the general setup of the screen and the template that I'm going to be mapping on top of. Okay, so this is the first template. Okay, so this would be similar to a map that you might find in a textbook, one that looks like this. So you could see the entire Earth in one go. No need to rotate. All the countries are right in front of you. Okay, so this is the general setup, and this is the map I'm going to be comparing against after I've mapped the whole file, just to see how accurate the data is. Okay, so this is the first setup. If you notice, all the longitudes go across my screen and all the latitudes go up and down. So the longitudes start at -180, increment in 15 degrees to the middle at 0, and then from 0 to 180 degrees on the right. Okay, so thus representing all possible longitudes. The latitudes start at the top and go down. So starting at the top at the North Pole at +90, going to the middle of the screen at the equator at 0, and then from 0 to -90 off the screen. Okay, so this setup, in effect, all latitudes and longitudes can be represented on this screen. Okay, including fractions. Fractions will just be areas in between these dots, which represent 1 degree. Okay, so you'll notice 15 dots within this square, and thus each dot representing 1 degree. And so you have 360 degrees across and 180 degrees up and down. The Tropic of Capricorn, you can see, is at 23 degrees latitude, and Tropic of Cancer is at -23 degrees latitude. Okay, give or take the decimals, of course. Okay, so this is the general setup that I'm going for here. And now the other template that I'm going to be mapping on is one that looks like, I'm just going to toggle over, okay, and it looks like that. Okay, so this, as you can see, is quite different. And this, if you can imagine, um, the looking down on the North Pole, you could see the North Pole will be in the middle, and then if you were to imagine a peel of like a orange peel, and you peel the orange from the bottom and then spread it out into a flattened circle, or try to make it into a circle. That's the representation. That's what I envision this setup to be. So you have the North Pole in the middle, and then on the outer edges would be the South Pole, and you got the red line representing the equator, the blue line representing the Tropic of Capricorn. So if you can see, the blue line is towards the north, and over here, what you saw, blue line, also is towards the north. The green line, Tropic of Cancer, is towards the south, and similar here, green line is towards the south. Okay, and one other thing that is quite different about this is the fact that all these lines of longitude are converging into the middle. Okay, so if you noticed in the other in this way, all the latitude and longitude lines are parallel to each other, and that is not the case here. All the lines are converging into the middle, and from the middle they're getting wider. This pie, so to speak, is getting wider out on the edges. Okay, so this is the general setup. You can see also that the zero longitude is right here, and then it increments in 15 degrees just like the other one. So that's what gives us the 24 time zones. And this type of setup is similar to what you might have seen online. This is a map that's out there from I think 1892, and so this also is set up in the same way, where you have the north in the middle, and then you have all the longitudes starting in the same position as zero here, going around, and all the latitudes going inwards, all converging into the middle. Okay, so this map here is sometimes referred to as a flat Earth map. Okay, we'll see later on uh, what exactly this is. Um, all right, so this is the general setup, and I'm just gonna pause here for a sec. Okay, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna just show you an example of running the program with just a couple of countries, just to show you what it looks like, and then explain to you what you're seeing. Okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run uh, the input file through, but like I said, it's only going to have two countries in it. I'm just going to show you how it looks initially before I run the whole file. So I've taken out the comment for this, so now I have an input file going in with the only the two countries in there. Okay, so I'm just going to run this, and then you're going to see the two countries. The two countries that I've selected are Argentina and Australia. Okay, so this is now the two countries are now mapped. Okay, one thing to remember, this shape that I'm getting here for Argentina is a remember, thousands and thousands of dots that are making this up. I'm not going by any template, or I'm not getting I'm not, I don't have a starting point for a particular country. It's pure data. I'm translating the data, the raw data, into this form, and this is the shape that I'm getting. Okay, so this here is Argentina, and this here is Australia. Now, if I compare this to uh, this map that I have, so I'm just going to zoom in on Argentina. Okay, uh, so there's Argentina on this map. Again, this map is off of the web, 1989. It says it could be a pretty old map, um, but for my purpose, I'm just comparing the general look of the country, and that's all I really care about right now. So if you look at the general shape, you got a little ledge here. Okay, and there's that ledge. It goes in, up, and then it has straight edges, goes in, up, and then some straight edges, goes down in a jagged form all the way around, goes down in a jagged way all the way, and then it meets up with this what looks like an island. Uh, it might be attached, I'm not sure actually. And so then it goes around, and then there's a little indentation here. There's the indentation, some more indentations here, and then it goes out, around, and then back in, goes out, around, and back in. Okay, you can see the data that I have is pretty close to accurate. I'm actually very impressed with the data that I have, and I've spent a lot of time making sure that I've mapped things correctly, that everything is to scale. And so I'm confident with the data that I have, and with the general setup that I'm going with. Now, if I compare the same thing, do the same comparison for Australia, you see the general shape is the same. You got the little island at the bottom, including these little two mini islands. You can see those represented also. It goes around in a wide circle over here, and then it goes up to a point, goes up to a point, and then there's some fading going on here. Remember, this is these blue lines are just for representation on this map. They don't actually exist on the earth. um, and over here, all I'm using is a bunch of dots, um, to represent cities. Okay, so that's why it's not quite as defined, but I'm going with the general shape, and it goes up and around, down, same here, and then it goes around in a rounded way and then comes back down and completes. Okay, so I'm pretty satisfied with the data that I have so far. And of course, the general location is also quite comparable. Of course, when you have the other countries laid out, you'll get a better idea of that. Okay, but so far, I'm happy with the data that I have, and so this is the comparison to this file. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to switch over to the other version of the map, the rounded version of the map. So I'm just going to toggle over, and so the data is just going to be transferred on to that version. All right. Okay, so there's the Argentina down here, and there's Australia over here. You can see right off the bat something is not right. It doesn't look right. This doesn't look like Australia. Uh, so what is going on here? Okay, so that actually is the inherent problem in representing um, longitude and latitude on this type of scale, because all the lines are actually converging in the middle. Okay, so just to give you an example of how this works, let's say you had a country that was between 45 and 60 longitude, and let's say it was sitting right here, close to the Arctic Circle here. Let's say you had the country touching both of these lines. Okay, so if you take that same country and pull it out to the outer edges, the country would still have to cover the whole area in the pie, because that's just how latitude and longitude is represented. So, but you can see that how small it is when it's down here, and the same country is now bloated. It looks huge up here, and that is the inherent problem, because these lines are getting wider along the edges, and so the longitude and latitude points are stretched. Okay, and so that's what you're finding with Australia. Australia looks like it's been pulled from the edges, and that's just actually what has happened in this form of a map. You can see also Argentina looks bloated almost. It looks like it's gained weight. If you look at Argentina in this way, you see that it's quite lean, and Australia looks quite compact, but that's not what's happening here. Australia is stretched out, and Argentina looks like it's gained weight. But if you compare the general location, if you look at this 150, 165, so it's around, like the edge would be around maybe 157 or so, and over here it would be around 112 or so, so maybe 112 to 157. And then if I toggle over 112, 157, so there's 105, 120, so again it's around 112, and over here also around 157. Okay, so you see the general location as far as latitude and longitude are concerned is in the exact same spot. I've actually taken a lot of time to make sure that everything is represented accurately. So I'm pretty confident about that part. If you compare now Argentina, it stretches out between, well, it's between maybe minus 50 to maybe minus 70 or so, minus 50, minus 70, and it's touching the Tropic of Cancer. Just the tip of it is touching the Tropic of Cancer. So if I go back, okay, there it's touching the Tropic of Cancer, and it is between minus 50 and around minus 70 or so. Okay, so the location was exactly the same, but it's looking stretched here. Okay, and that is one of the problems in depicting in this way, where lines are going out on the edges. That's just to be expected. If Australia had been close to the middle, it would actually be literally it would be from here to here. It would be like a very small. Okay, if you were to just move this as it is into this area. Okay, and that's countries don't just stretch themselves or compress themselves based on imaginary lines on the screen. So you can tell that there's nothing wrong with the actual country. There's something wrong with representing it in this way. Okay, so I'm just gonna pause here for a sec. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the entire file. Okay, so I've loaded in the proper file. I've uncommented the code as I needed, and now I'm just going to run it. Okay, so what's going to happen initially is the entire file is going to be loaded into my program, hence this white screen. So nothing to show right now. The data is being loaded. It's probably going to take not very long, 10 seconds or so, and then all the data will be loaded in my program. And remember, my program maps to the screen 1 pixel at a time, but I'm refreshing my screen when a country changes. So I'm not going to refresh my screen every time a pixel changes, because that would just take way too long to display on the screen. So instead, what you're seeing is countries pop up as their processing completes. Okay, some of the countries I've hard coded the colors, like China and Canada, and Argentina and all that, and just for my purpose, just to get a general look and feel in my mind. But the other countries, they are just incremented programmatically in my, through known values. So that's what's happening here. That's where you're seeing some of the colors in greenish, bluish, and purplish range, and some of them are defined. All right, so so all the countries are popping up in alphabetical order. Okay, so you're just seeing little countries all over the place popping up. Okay, wherever they are alphabetically, they're just popping up. Okay, so there's Russia. You see it takes up a large portion at the top of the screen, and it also peaks out over here based on, again, data, and that's just how it's represented. It goes around and to the other side. Okay, there's United States. There's another portion of United States, and it's almost okay. So that's complete now. So that is how the data translates to my screen. Okay, and you can see it looks like the map of the world. So I'm pretty happy with the data. And just to compare it to a known map, I'm just going to open up this map again. Okay, so you can see it compares pretty nicely with known maps. Okay, so there's South America. There's South America, and then goes into Mexico, United States, Canada, and then all the islands up here. Again, not as defined. The lines, I'm not actually drawing any lines in my program. It's just pure dots, and that's why you're seeing, you know, very defined lines over here, because this is probably an artist's view of this, but this is just city by city. Okay, so that's why the lines are not quite as defined. Same thing with Greenland. Greenland, it's possible that all the cities are concentrated along the edges. That's why you're only seeing that. It's possible that everything else is just one big city. I'm not exactly sure, or if there are even cities in there. I'm not actually. I don't know about that either. So on this side, if I just move over, okay, so there's Africa, there's little islands over here all over, and you see Soviet Union. On this map, you can see Soviet Union takes up more area towards the bottom, and that I guess it's been separated, and that's why you're seeing it differentiated like that. Okay, so it may appear that I have more current data as opposed to this 1989 version of the map. Okay, and then the other countries, China, general look and feel is the same. You got Australia, all the little islands on the edges, also pretty accurate. Okay, so I am quite happy with the data. It's giving me what I want, and I think it serves the purpose just to show you that my program is mapping things correctly, and that the data that I have is pretty accurate. Okay, so I'm just going to pause here for a sec, and then I'm going to show you the same data mapped to the other version of the map with the rounded scale with North Pole in the middle. Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna actually run the other version. Uh, okay, so I've just hard coded the toggle over to the other one. So now you should be able to see the other map. Okay, so again, the data is being loaded, and it's going to map the exact same way as you saw earlier, but this time to the rounded version of the map. Okay, same thing. It's going to be loaded one country at a time. Uh, okay, I'm loading it one pixel at a time, but I'm refreshing the screen whenever the country changes. Okay, so just give it a sec. Okay, so there, now you're starting to see um, the same data loaded onto the rounded version of the map. Okay, so you can see there's Argentina and Australia that we saw earlier. There's China. You can see right away Canada is appearing quite tiny, and that goes back to what I said earlier, where things in the middle are compressed and things on the outer edges are stretched out, and that's exactly what you're seeing here. Canada looks small, whereas on the other version you saw that it took up a large portion at the top. China the same way, and you can see that it's kind of it's almost like rounded, um, and for a country to go around imaginary lines is sounds absurd, and that's why I think representing in this way it just skews all countries. So this cannot be, I mean, a country to stretch itself simply because lines of longitude are going outward, it does not make sense. So a country is not going to, stretch itself just because lines are going outwards. And same with compressing. So there is the general look and feel of this type of map. You can see, Russia was taking up almost half the screen earlier, and now it's a very compact piece of landmass right in the middle, basically going around the Arctic Circle here, and that just doesn't make sense. Why should a country curve itself around that? But that's besides the point. I just wanted to give you an idea of how it looks on this scale. Now, what blew me away about this was that when I compared it, see, first of all, I had no idea when I was running these programs in both templates. I had no idea how it was going to look. I didn't know whether the data that I have is going to translate and look like a horse. I had no idea. And the same thing with this. I had no idea how this was going to look. But I was actually blown away when I compared it to this map that's out there. Okay, so this is a map from 1892, and it's been circling the web, and it's been commonly referred to as the flat Earth map. But when I compared it to the map that I have, remember, it's the exact same data for both templates. But I'm just it's just that we choose to display it differently, and that's all that's happening here. We're displaying the data differently. I mean, I could have made this into a star and tried to represent the Earth that way, and you could have another version of the Earth. But just by choosing to represent the same data in this way gives you this shape, and if you look at it, it looks exactly like the map of 1892. Actually, it's even better than that. It's more up to date. Okay, just to give, okay, if you just compare Australia, it looks pretty much the same. Okay, remember there's stretching going on here, and that's what's happening here. It's being stretched. Australia is not actually that wide, and it's just represented this way. And if you look at India, for example, India takes up a lot more space here, because back then Pakistan was non-existent. It was all India. So the fact that I have an updated version of this 1892 map is quite neat as well. And if you look at other Like if you look at Africa, it looks pretty much the same. You got the little island, even little islands at the bottom. Okay, there's South America. General look and feel is exactly the same. Countries obviously have changed. Some of the shapes have become different and more defined. Countries have been added. So that's the main difference that you're seeing here. But if you just compare the general look and feel, it is exactly the same. Okay, so if I was to compare this map to the other one that I showed you, this one I would say is skewed. It has data that's stretching, so this cannot be a true representation of the map. If anything, the other one, because lines are parallel, and that makes more sense, that a country doesn't stretch itself, and when lines are parallel, the countries in effect could not stretch themselves, and so that may be a better representation. I'm not exactly sure about that, but the fact that this is referred to a flat Earth map, I mean, who knows? But just the fact that its data is skewed, I'm not sure how accurate this could be. If you notice in the middle, there's a well, we always wanted to know what was behind this little thing, and now we can see it. And what this is, what I understand this to be, is a way to measure latitudes. See, longitude can be measured along the edges, but latitude, you need to measure inwards from the edge, and so that's what this was used for. This would have to be a tool that stretches out to the edge, and then it can be rotated around the center, depending on what area you wanted to measure the latitude for. Okay, so that's what that is. But now finally you can see what's behind there. Not only that, but you get an updated version of this same map. Okay, just wanted to share that with you. I hope some of you find this interesting. I sure did. And okay, and if you like what you're seeing, please encourage me, and let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see, or if there's any problems in what you're noticing. All right, take care.